Welcome everyone to Feminine Archetypes. My name is Courtney Tiffany. I am a writer, a mystic, and most importantly, a priestess of the divine feminine. All of my work encompasses the different faces, the different aspects of the divine feminine, and how we can really tap in and learn more about that energy and awaken those parts of ourselves. So a lot of my work within the monthly goddess alignment, we focus on different goddesses, but feminine archetypes is focusing on the different archetypes of the divine feminine. So in this series, I'm just going to be introducing different archetypes within the divine feminine. And today is all about the archetype, the maiden. The maiden is often seen within the triple goddess symbol, representing the maiden, mother, and crone. The maiden represents the beginning. Oftentimes when we hear the word maiden, we think maiden is like a young girl, someone who hasn't really stepped into womanhood yet, maybe hasn't gotten her period. She's a little naive. She's kind of just excitable and just like excited about life, and or she might not have any direction. The goddess that comes to mind when I think of the maiden is Persephone. Persephone used to be named Core. Before she became queen of the underworld, she was actually Core. She was kind of the goddess of nothing. She didn't really have anything going for her. Her mother Demeter was the goddess of harvest and provided food in abundance for the mortals, and here her daughter was, and it was just kind of like, okay, like she was kind of like waiting for something to happen to her, waiting for her life to begin, kind of without like a sense of purpose or direction. And that while that's part of the maiden, it's not like the full aspect. So we kind of want to ask ourselves, like, why would we even work with the maiden? Like, why is it important, right? Why even bother? Like, yes, I understand the maiden, but I don't want to be a young girl. I don't want to be young, naive, like without sense of purpose or direction. But the gifts of the maiden are really tapping into this level of excitement and energy and passion. Kind of diving in full force to something without really thinking about the consequences. And some of you might think that's a great thing. Like, okay, less worry. Yes, I can deal with less worry, less stress in life, right? And other of you be like, wait, whoa, no, I have to research, I have to plan. But really uncovering and embodying the maiden within us is really all about just kind of living our passions and just going after life, right? The maiden is a great archetype to call on when you kind of feel stuck or like in a rut, like you don't really know or like you've lost like your zest or your passion, right? Maybe you were dealing with a lot of anxiety or depression and everything just kind of seems gray. Everything's just kind of dull. You feel numb and you're just like, what is the point? What is the point, right? That's when we want to call on the maiden. That's when we want to explore this archetype within us. This is when we want to open ourselves up to and awaken to that part of the feminine. And the maiden, all of these archetypes that we'll be discussing, they're available to all of us, right? We can tap into them anytime. So, and over on my Patreon page, there will be an activation to actually go into and awaken that maiden within you. Today, we're just going to kind of be focusing on like the actual archetype, just having a discussion around it and what it means and all of that. So if you actually want to work with the maiden, you can go there in the archetype tier, and you'll find all the activations for all of the archetypes. But let's just kind of explore what this means, to be to the maiden, right? To embody the maiden. What does that look like? And so in my new book, Feminine Archetypes, I really describe the maiden as somebody with like a zest for life. She's just excited, right? She's kind of got blinders on. She's like, oh my gosh, like this is my passion project. This is what I want to do. This is what's going to make me happy. And she just goes for it. She just jumps right in, both feet, right? Not really thinking about consequences, not really thinking about how she's going to be getting it done. She doesn't really have a plan, right? But she just knows what she wants, and she knows that she's going to pursue it, and she's just excited, right? And so this maiden offers us this beautiful gift to just kind of awaken to the beauty of life, right? The maiden just kind of sees the good in everything. She hasn't really been tainted by the world yet. She hasn't, there's lots of hard lessons that we all like go through and have to learn during our lifetime, but the maiden really is kind of that young girl who just hasn't learned all that yet, and she just has passion and excitement and just wants to start living her life, right, and doing those things that make her happy. And when we get stuck in like the daily grind, and we get stuck in like doing the same things over and over, and we like are in a soul sucking career, or just we find like we're not going to go anywhere, or like it feels like we're not moving, right? We can really tap into the maiden and embody the maiden and invite in that excitement. um this isn't just for the young girl, right? So we talk a lot about, think back to when you were younger. What did you like to do when you were young, right? For me, I loved marine biology. I always wanted to be like a underwater photographer. I thought that would be the coolest thing. I loved animals. I thought about going to vet school. Like it was just one of those things. I wanted to really be connected with the earth, like looking back, right? Being connected and exploring nature and capturing these moments that like not everybody sees. And um I love to play volleyball. I was a cheerleader. I like all of those things were fun and exciting. And I also loved to color. So it's like, okay, when we find ourselves kind of like separated from the maiden, we can think back to those times when we were younger. Like, what did we like to do, right? So going and like picking up a camera and just like going for a nature walk, right? Just it can awaken that part of you again, right? Or getting on the floor with your kids and coloring a big mural or like a picture, or just, I mean, adult coloring books now. Like it just brings you back to that time when you were younger, when there weren't so many cares, there weren't so many worries, there weren't so many stresses in the day. Our culture is built on this like patriarchal structure where it's like we have to get things done, right? We always have lists, we're always busy, we have to go, 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 go. There's no stop, there's no rest. But the maiden kind of takes a step back, and she's just in awe of everything, right? Again, no worries. She's just like, it's looking at life through rose colored glasses in a way. Everything's beautiful, everything's new, everything. She just wants to try everything, right? And to embody the maiden, we can really just kind of start a new project, right? She's the beginning of that triple goddess of the maiden mother crone. And if there's something that you've been wanting to do, something like a passion project, something you've been wanting to create or learn more about, this is the time for it, right? The maiden within us can awaken, and we get super excited, and we're like, okay, like it doesn't matter, like I'm just gonna do it. I'm just jumping all in. Like it might work, it might not, but that's okay. And that is really embodying the maiden. It's just starting something new that brings you joy, even like a new relationship. Like I think about like the story of Persephone and Hades, and I feel like it's probably one of the most popular ones in Greek mythology. There's so many retellings of that story, but you know she's sitting in the field picking flowers when the earth kind of rumbles up beneath her, and like this crack, like the earth opens up and Hades comes up with his chariot, right? And like takes her away and takes her to the underworld. Like I often wonder, I'm like, did Persephone, like, was she just waiting for somebody to kind of sweep her off of her feet? I mean, she ended up marrying Hades. She became queen of the underworld, and whether she was actually abducted, whether she was actually raped, like we'll never know, right? there's there's so many different views and perspectives about that story, and um but this idea of like being swept off our feet, right? Kind of romantic, kind of like fantasy. um but when we're doing something, when we're pursuing our passions, when we're just totally enamored with something, right? Or even someone, right? You could start a new relationship. Like that feeling you get when you meet somebody new and you get butterflies. That to me is the maiden. That's like the beginning of this relationship. That's like, okay, I'm getting this tingly feeling. I really like it. I want to explore it further. Like, where's this relationship going? How can I get to know this person more? Right. And then that kind of goes on, that aspect, like the maiden can then evolve into the lover, right? But when we're starting a project, right, a passion project or a new business or writing a book or creating something new, right, or learning just about something that we love, and we want to know more about, like we're creating something, we're in the beginning of this journey, right? And then we actually birth it out into the world, we create it. That's when we enter the mother phase. So there's a lot of different directions, a lot of different doors and pathways that the maiden can take us to, right? But just coming back to the beginning, to the start. So if you're, like I said, just not really feeling the passion, the zest, you have a lot of worries, a lot of stresses on your plate, that's when you need the maiden. It's a perfect time to embody the maiden and, just take a walk out in nature, go pick some flowers, go, bake cookies, like whatever it is that you love to do. Just take some time for yourself and really sink into that and allow those butterflies to come up, right? Get excited about something new. I mean, that is the maiden. So it's this beautiful, fresh start, a new chapter, a new beginning. And like I said, it can lead to different things, right? But it's really an important archetype. I feel like it gets often like overlooked. Like, yes, the maiden represents the beginning, um, and leads to the mother, but we so often want to like move forward so quickly, right? And like get there, but we can stay in the maiden for a little bit, right? Obviously, if we're like so stuck in the maiden, like we're so like full of ideas, bursting with ideas, but like we don't take action on any of them, and like we're just really kind of stuck, talking about our passions, but not actually pursuing them. That's kind of the shadow aspect, right? Or we're looking for somebody else to do everything for us, right? We're not taking action, inspired action, heart action, on our dreams and passions, and it's kind of, we're stuck, right? So the maiden is it is this pathway to other things, to other pathways, but it's that beginning is also an important piece. I hope that makes sense, right? It's a time to honor. I mean, it's the beginning is always fun, right? After so many of us, we talk like in the spiritual community, you hear like dark night of the soul or like the death and rebirth cycle. Well, this is the rebirth. This is the moment. The maiden is after the crone, right? If you go maiden, mother, crone, it comes back to the beginning, right? The crone is the ending. It's the death. It's the embodiment of everything that you've learned, all the wisdom. The crone is the wise woman, right? But after the crone, you start over. It's this cycle, and and it's fun and it's energizing and exciting, and it's something to not get stuck in, but just to honor that time, right? To just reconnect with what brings us joy, really. Um, and not have any worries, not have any cares, not have any stresses. So I hope that gives you a better understanding of the maiden. Like I said, I will be holding activations inside the monthly goddess alignment, my Patreon group. If you want to dive in and really feel that energy, there will be like an energetic activation for the maiden that you can join. Um, yes, and I will see you another time as we continue to explore all of these archetypes, these feminine archetypes.